Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, sorry, I just finished lunch. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. Here at Crafting Ruby Dreams, I talk about planners, goal setting, writing, publishing, and getting right with my finances. Today's topic is a Q&A about, the HB90 method, which is a system created by Sarah Cannon over at the Heart Breathings channel. I am an affiliate, and so if you are interested in the boot camp, that starts on Sunday, June 12th for quarter 3, and it is $199. Since I am an affiliate, I will receive a portion of that, but that does not affect the price that you pay. You can pay $199 all in one time fee, or you also have the ability to do a 3-month payment plan and a 6-month payment plan. So if you're at all interested, money's tight, needs to be budgeted. Sarah has started instituting this year these payment plans to make it easier for people to participate. So those are the very basics. And I did get some questions. I put up a little question box on my stories over on my Instagram account, which is at Crafting Ruby Dreams, all one word. And I will be answering those. So let me pull up my screenshot. I did get 5 questions. And let's see, I have my notes. I am always happy to take questions. You can drop them in the comments below, or if you're here watching live, please feel free to do that in the live chat. I have been a user of the HB90 system off and on. I actually attended the very first boot camp for quarter 4 of 2018. And I think I've talked about this in some of my videos before, but it was a period of stress and kind of the beginning of the really bad downward spiral into burnout for me. So while I created a whole plan for myself for quarter 4, I very quickly abandoned it because of things that cropped up with something I was doing at the time. And I just couldn't get into it. And I kept trying other quarters to like get back into it, but I was just in such bad burnout that I wasn't able to do stuff. I redid it when the boot camp, when Sarah expanded it to a 7-day boot camp, that was for quarter 3 of 2020. So I'm pretty sure that's when she switched it from a 3-day boot camp to a 7-day boot camp, and expanded out like how she addressed the various topics and gave you time to really sit and ruminate on the things that you want to do, why you're doing them, all of that stuff. So there is actually a question for an overview, so I will get into that. But I just want to give a little bit of my history. So quarter 3, 2020, I actually did interestingly okay with that particular quarter. That was the quarter that I really started Crafting Ruby Dreams. And so building Crafting Ruby Dreams was my second goal for that quarter. I did phenomenally for what my goals were. My first goal, my primary goal, was writing. I was still in burnout, and I was not fully accepting of that. I had at least admitted that I was in burnout, but I wasn't really fully ready to accept how deep in burnout I was at that period. So again, I kept doing stuff and like through 2021, and I was just like, okay, yeah, it's still not working for me. But it's not because of the system. It was because of what my mindset and me being in burnout, all of that. So I really truly started coming out of burnout about mid 2021, and I was ready to restart with HB90 for quarter 1 of this year. And honestly, it's been great. It really truly has been great. And part of that is the way I structured my goals. And making my primary goals, my writing, and that truly being the focus again. So I will talk a little bit about that, but I do want to get into the questions. And so the first question is overview. What the it is specifically, I'm intrigued by the system, but just need a brief overview because I've been too lazy to do it. This is a friend of mine, so I appreciate the way she phrased that. So the overview of HB90 is that, at least the way that I look at it, is that it is a project management goal setting system, because you are setting up your goals and projects that are in support of those goals for a 90-day period. And I think what Sarah has done, as she has iterated it over the years that she's been doing it, is focusing on your time management and your time expectations of yourself. That has always been like a real key core of the system. But what she's been doing is refining how you go about figuring out what you can actually accomplish over the course of a quarter, and what your expectations are, and the motivation of keeping going. So the process really takes you through evaluating what your overall life goals are and what your goals for why you're doing HB90. So for me, it's writing. Writing is the real key core. I know other people who are not writers who use the system. Probably the biggest one in the planner and goal setting world would be Cindy Gunter-Baldo. She's done a number of videos on the system as somebody who is a creative but not a writer. So I highly recommend checking those videos out. And so you go through, like, there's here, let me just pull out my planner. And what I have for 2022, this kind of ties into a later question, is the goal setting planner. So it's the 2022 goal setting planner. I'm not getting each individual quarter, so I'm not using the planner guts of the system, though those are available. I am just working through the process. So you basically work through, like, what is your vision for your life? How do you want to be spending your day, your ideal day? What kind of life do you want to be leading? So it, like, really gets you envisioning the future that you are working toward, the thing that you really want to do. And Sarah really encourages you to do this every single quarter, because you may find within a quarter that your vision for your future will radically change for various reasons. And so it is good to, if you have such a significant change in a quarter, it's really good to, like, totally re-envision what your future is, if you are able to do that. And if you find that it is not so radically changed, maybe go in and tweak and refine what it is that you do. And I've actually got something I want to talk about. Hope I remember this. If I forget, oh, Maven Lee, thank you so much. Here, let me pop this question up. I thought I had my affiliate link in the description, but apparently I don't. So yes, I will be including my affiliate link. I will go back in after the live to include it. So thank you so much for asking. I really appreciate that. But if I forget about vision boards, I do have a comment about vision boards in a moment. So as I said, overview, you work through what it is that you envision your life to be, and how you want to be spending your day and all of that. And then next step is going through and, as Sarah calls it, decluttering your brain. And so she has you go through an exercise of just basically doing a brain dump into various categories. And I think that is also very, very useful, because what she has you do after you do this huge brain dump, and you can always add to it, is that she has you go through an Einstein matrix that, sorry, not Einstein, Eisenhower, other big E name from that rough time period, that I think she's got really great categories for this Eisenhower matrix. And then you go through those categories that you had just brain dumped into, and then you highlight them according to this Eisenhower matrix. And I found that exercise to be extremely useful. Now, I also do want to say that you can do all this just by buying the quarterly planner and working through the exercises. She has all of that in the planner. You do not have to go through the boot camp to do all this. Where I find the boot camp helpful is that it has me accountable, and I am an alumni, so I get to go through the boot camp every single quarter. That is a benefit of Sarah's program, is that you have lifetime access to these. And like I said, when I first did the program back in 2018, it was only a 3-day boot camp. She has since switched it to a 7-day boot camp. And when she made those changes, I still had access to that. She does have during the boot camp, a live Facebook group for the current students for that particular boot camp to interact with each other. And she works with them, working through the various exercises through the 7 days. And then she also does that with the alumni group as well. And the alumni can also sit in on the live call that she does to kick off on, that will be Sunday, I believe, at 2 p.m., June 12th. So, and you can always watch that if that time does not work for you. So after you do that Eisenhower matrix and prioritizing all of these tasks and goals and things that you think you want to do, she then has you go through evaluating your day and how much time you actually have in the course of your day and your week to work on all of this. So I have a day job, and I need to take that into account, especially now that I am back in the office 2 days a week and I'm commuting. So maybe I want to write on while I'm commuting. I don't, because that's on my phone and I don't like the phone typing. But what I have been doing for the last while is making a point to bring in my personal laptop, and on my breaks, my morning break, my afternoon break, my lunch break, I do 15-minute sprints. That's how I do my writing. I can fit that into those breaks. So I try to do at least one during the course of the day in the office, preferably 2, sometimes even 3. I manage what my daily goal of 3 is, but at least 1. And that helps get me rolling. And so, oh, Halima, thank you so much. She does say that it is in the video description. It's just, if you're on your phone, it's hard to see. So yeah, I've run into that before. So thank you for checking that, Halima. I appreciate that. So you have this time estimator of how much time you have available in the course of the day, in the course of the week, of what you have to work on, the goals and projects that you've set up in the HB90. And then you also go through for the quarter and block out the time that either you just don't want to work on Fridays, or you don't want to work on weekends, or, like me personally, I have a day job conference coming up here in DC. It's the American Library Association conference at the end of June. I should not expect myself to be writing on those days at all. That's just, that would be foolishness. I might try, because I'm probably going to be at the end of the draft of the book that I'm currently working on. So I might try just to have that done by the end of the quarter if I haven't finished by the time the conference starts. But that's something I need to take into account, as that is going to be not only a huge time drain for me, but a huge energy drain. So that assessment of energy is not necessarily one that Sarah has really built into the system, but she does talk about it and how it's a thing for her personally. So if you go back and watch her videos on her channel, again, that is Heart Breathings here on YouTube, you'll see her talking about that as well. So, but yeah, so you just take into account both what you have available on your individual days, and then what days you actually want to work over the course of the quarter. And then you set out how much time you have, actual time you have, your idealized time to do all this work. Something that Sarah's recently added in is also taking into account recurring tasks. So listing out what you do on a daily basis in support of whatever it is you're trying to manage with HB90. So daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. So for me, doing social media posts, both for Crafting Ruby Dreams as well as, excuse me, my writer self, weekly doing the review of how the week went and planning for the coming week. And doing planning for if I'm doing a YouTube video, which, like I said, since I'm now doing lives, there's not as much planning that I have to do, and I also don't have to do as much back end work. So that is one of the things that I've realized in the course of this particular quarter. I do want to show up. So how do I adjust how I do things in order to cut out time spent on doing the stuff, because I don't have as much time, especially with being back in the office, frankly. Other things I do a monthly newsletter for my writer self. I need to pull sales numbers. I need to update my spreadsheet as to how much income and expenses I had with regards to writing. Quarterly, I need to do goal setting. So every quarter, I go through and redo HB90. So how much time is required to do all of those recurring tasks, and take that into account when planning your time for the coming quarter. And then once you've done all of that, that's when you set your overarching goals, the projects that you will be doing to support those goals, and the individual tasks that you have to complete those projects, at least to the point that you think you can complete them over the course of the quarter. So that is the broad overview. So Aki, thank you so much for asking that question. All right, so next question is, what does the actual breakdown of tasks look like in your planner, and how do you make adjustments? So let me go back through and show you my quarter one. Let's see. So here is what my quarter one, goal one looked like. So it's pretty simple because I am just working on drafting a book. So it was just right, was essentially what it was. So what I did for those days back in quarter one, this is my completed tasks for quarter one, and all of my writing goals were done on these teal. So I basically did week and day, and I only was expecting to do myself. I was only expecting to do 2 writing sprints for those days. And then what I started doing I realized setting it like to the week of quarter was something that I didn't particularly enjoy. So since I'm still writing and drafting, I just figured, I sat down and figured out that if I expected of myself, because first quarter actually helped me figure out what my rough word count average was over the course of a sprint. So I could figure out, okay, if I spent X amount of sprints writing, then I could expect to have an end goal project of around 60,000 words done in this amount of time. So if I did 3 sprints a day, how many writing days would that take? And I figured out it would take me about 50. So I was like, okay, cool. And I had 50 writing days available in the course of the quarter. So I set that as my big. So I just did, here's what they currently look like. I just have day 24, day 25, and 3 boxes for me to check off. So 3 writing sprints constitutes a writing day for me. So that's how I have set up my goals for quarter 2. So, and then for my goal 2 of quarter 1, I just want to emphasize this is quarter 1. This is what I ended up doing because it was growing Crafting Ruby Dreams. And so it was producing and posting various stuff, and that turned out to be a lot. And so I did have here, let me pull out these. So let's see, that's my admin. And all right, so I had these separated out into, so here's like a YouTube task. So prep week 3. And then here is for Instagram prep week 4. And I had 5 boxes because I wanted to do 5 posts a day. And then I had a post and then I had an edit. So I had all of those tasks listed out for, so that's the project brainstorm. That's not the task ones. Let's see, did I have, okay. So yes, you have a specific there, project planner for each one. So this is writing. So I had it broken out by my individual weeks. And then I had, this is how I save some space for the producing YouTube videos. So, so that's how I broke out the tasks. What I decided to do for Q2 is just really, really prioritize the writing. So I didn't do individual tasks for my kind of goal 2, which was crafting Ruby Dreams, because I knew I needed to focus on the writing, and I would do crafting Ruby Dreams as I could. There were a couple of things, since I am also an affiliate for MäksēLife, and there was a requirement to post at least 2 things per month to my social media channels. I made a point to, okay, I'm doing my 2, at least 2. I try to do more, but I'm fulfilling at least the minimum so I can maintain that affiliate status. But beyond that, I didn't write that down. I didn't fill out the Post-its, because I actually ended up not filling out my Post-its until well into Q2. So you don't have to do Post-its. I do want to emphasize that, but I find it useful, and part of that is because I can move them off of my Kanban board, which is actually the door to my bedroom, and put them in my planner. And this is what I keep in front of me every day, is the MäksēLife planner. This is my personal and writing life planner. I use a completely different planner, as I talked about on Saturday, for work. So, so I make adjustments by either just taking those Post-its off of the door/board, or the adjustment that I did for Q2, instead of assigning a specific Post-it to a particular day and week of the period, I have a running numbered list of days 1 through 50, and whatever I just work on the next day. So 24 has been in my planner for a few days now. 25 has also been in my planner for a few days now. So I will put these back on the completed board once I complete those, and then I will take the next batch down and put them into my planner, and I just work through them one by one as I try to do that. But that's partially because I don't have deadlines. I do not have a deadline of when I have got to have this book done. If I had a deadline, that would be a bit different. So it is easier to be able to make adjustments if you don't have hard deadlines breathing down on you. If you do have hard deadlines, you really have to figure out what the priority is for the particular goal, so in the project. So like I said, for me, I really wanted to emphasize the priority of goal 1, which is writing related, for myself for this quarter, and finish the draft of the book. That is my primary goal. And I find ways to have accountability to others, where, like today, I've got a group of friends where I just went in and said, all right, here's what I want to do today. And they're like, all right, great. How can we support you? I'm like, honestly, just you being here and me having to report back to you, that's what I really need. Other people need other things. And so, if I had a harder deadline, that would be another way for me to have accountability of, oh, somebody is expecting this of me by this point, so I really need to get that done. And if I also had harder deadlines and I had to drop stuff in order to deal with that deadline, I would literally go through at the beginning of the week and like, okay, what can I drop? Like, what absolutely has to get done in the course of this week in order to meet that deadline. And this is where the reviews that Sarah's built into the system, I think, is particularly helpful, because she does have a question every week of what deadlines do I have coming up? So that will help you prioritize what you have to work on over the course of this coming week. So yeah, that's pretty much how I make my adjustments as I am currently working the system. So I hope that helps. But again, please feel free to drop a question in either the chat or the comments. All right, Halima, I hope you're still watching, because the next 3 questions are yours, and I really appreciate you asking every single one of them. So the next question is, how am I using this versus the MäksēLife? And this goes back to the fact that I am using the goal setting planner for 2022 and not the individual quarterly planners that Sarah makes available through her Etsy shop. That has the guts of like an actual planner built into it. And so that would have been just too much for me, because I don't need that many planners. You'd think, since I've bought more for various reasons. But it really is, I'm using the goal planner, which is in a way supplemental to my main planning system. And so I really appreciate that Sarah does make that available. So you have pretty much every quarter is in there with the exercises as you go through the setup, and that you can work through in the boot camp. And it's stripped down for quarters 2, 3, and 4. You have like everything, all the explanations and everything up in quarter 1. For quarters 2, 3, and 4, it's a lot of the explanations cut out just to reduce the file size and the page count for the goal planner. And where I find this particularly useful with MäksēLife is it's a whole life planner. So it has you working on all 8 areas of your life as they define it. Where for me right now, doing my writing and all of that, that is a really high priority for me. So using the HB90 system lets me really drill down into the very specifics of what will help advance me through to whatever I'm trying to accomplish. And it is, I think, something that you could possibly use for, like, if I had a specific goal of health and wellness. And Sarah has actually talked about this in her channel about one of her goals is usually somehow tied to her health and wellness. And so she does use the system for that. But Sarah's also a full-time author as well. Well, she has both being an author as well as running the Heart Breathings universe as her full-time job. So she's got a lot of things like that. I, as somebody who has to go outside for my day job, at least outside of my home environment, even when I'm working from home, that she can focus on all of that. She has more time available to her to work on all of these various projects than I do. But yeah, for me, MäksēLife allows me to remember that there is more to life than just my writing and the day job, whereas HB90 helps me focus on doing what I need to do to actually advance further with my goals with regards to writing and whatever other goals I choose to fold into that particular system. And then the next question, how do you keep your multiple planner systems and planner functional? So, since you're very smart, I appreciate you paying attention that I currently am using MäksēLife, Erin Condren Planner, as well as the HB90 system. And it really is that I have very specific intentions for every single one of them. So the MäksēLife Daily is just, I have this is how I keep track of everything that I need to do over the course of the day, or at least try to do. It's really try to do. So here's like Sunday, yesterday, in that you can see for the here's HB90. I actually didn't have any writing tests because I knew I did not want to write yesterday. I wanted to take that day off, but you can see that I have more space for the generalized tasks, and even had to add more down for my weekly planning, just to make sure I covered everything. Whereas for today, I gave more space to the HB90 because I have all these writing sprints I want to do. I have the live that we're doing right now. And I had also kind of forgotten that I had signed up for a week-long intensive course for learning more about one of my CliftonStrengths from the coaching group that I work with. So I appreciate with HB90 that I can be flexible. And that is something that I find useful. There is, with the Daily Duo, I really keep that almost exclusively for work. So it doesn't really touch on my others, and I try not to overlap too much. So it's like, for example, let me go back to Friday, where you can see I've marked out my time for when I'm at work, but that's it. That's all I've marked on the day for my work. So there is, I'm not putting my day job tasks in my MäksēLife because then I'd have no room for anything else. I put that all into my Daily Duo, but I still need to be aware that I'm like, oh, hey, I'm spending time at work today. So that's how I pretty much keep them separated. And the fact that, like I said, I'm not using the planner guts for HB90. I'm basically putting all of those into my MäksēLife. And with my other MäksēLife things, that's this is like the daily is what I have to do in the course of the day. That is my present. My flagship is my journaling every evening over what happened over the course of the day, just marking all the to done bits of my life, the done list. And the companion notebook system is me kind of like forecasting out, all right, what is going to happen? What do I want to happen over the course of the quarter, over the course of the month, etc. So I am glad that helped. Oh, and that's really interesting. The Daily Do and the Hobonichi. I've thought about adding a Hobonichi at some point, but again, with a very specific intention of that would be more for like kind of tarot type of stuff. And then we have a question from Maven. This is a great question. I don't actually time block and track my time as much as I probably should, especially since right now it's actually a little easy since I'm just drafting and I just do sprints. And part of that is, it turns out I have ADHD. I recently got the diagnosis within the last couple of weeks, and I've always had like kind of like time issues. I found out the term for that is time blindness. So that is something I am working on. I know other people who will have, I think Timular is a system for tracking your time, as well as I can't remember the other. Sarah actually has talked about how she has done this. But I know she had a Timular, and she also had another time tracking thing where you could, it's kind of like almost a dice where you would turn it on and you would designate a particular facet to, if it's sitting up, that's the top, what you were working on. And then you would just move it around as to whatever task or thing you were tracking. I do want to get better at that, especially once I get back into fully publishing and not just like, I'm kind of restarting my writing career after burnout. So in some ways I have it easy right now in that I'm just focused on writing and drafting and just getting something out to publish. But I also, once I start getting back into publishing, and I have self-published, I have publishing history, I'm going to have to start taking into account, all right, how much time does editing take me? How much time does figuring out cover design and talking with a cover designer going to take? How much does formatting the book take? How much does uploading all of the to all the vendors take? And then marketing and all of that. So yes, that is something that Sarah does try to have you take into account. I just haven't had to do that within the last year plus. So yes, it was, this is a goal of mine in the future. So thank you so much for asking. Oh, this is a great thing from Halima. Found that time blocking and time tracking is as well as planning helps keep me focused and getting the dopamine burst of checking things off. Excellent point. I One of the things about Clifton Strengths that I've learned is that there is a particular strength called Achiever that gets a huge dopamine burst of checking things off. Achiever is my very lowest of the strengths. Of the 34 strengths, it's my number 34. However, I do have another strength that's very high, which is my number 5. It's called adaptability. I love lists because I love bouncing off. That it's like, oh, here's something for me to do. Here's something for me to do. I don't get energy from doing them. I get energy from reacting to the list. So that's a really good point. And so that's just something I'm learning more about myself, especially with having the ADHD and incorporating that into how I operate. All right. And we do have one more question from Halima. How has HB90 helped you as an author who works full-time in another career field? And honestly, the real key for that is the fact that I have to take into account and have better adjust my expectations of how much I can do in the course of a quarter, with having to take into account I have a day job that I work at least 8 hours a day at when I'm at home, and when I'm in the office, taking into account that I have to commute there. So that I think is the biggest thing, is just getting me to see how much time I actually have to work on all of this, and then getting like really deeply understanding what that means. And so it's really been useful for me with regards to that's been the biggest benefit for me, in that I can figure out like, okay, I had to drop back on crafting Ruby Dreams because the amount of time I spent editing videos was time that was not spent writing, and it was more time that I really wanted to be spending editing. I would like to one day be able to afford an editor, so that that is something that I don't have to personally do, but I'm not at that point. That is definitely a goal of mine in the future. And so, yeah, it is, it's a goal. But yeah, so that's how HB90 has helped me. So Maven Lee has another really great question. As far as I know, there is not a way to find out for free. They do charge, trying to remember what the cost. You can get just your top 5 for less than. They do periodically run sales. I think the cost for the full 34 report was like, is it like around $50 or so? But I was able to buy a code again, like way a few years ago. And that was $35 on sale at the time. So you might want to look for sales, but yeah, I'm not aware of anyone to get from Gallup who owns they own that intellectual property. So I don't think that there is a way to get it for free, unless if you're working a corporate job and they decide to do an assessment and they pay for it. And so that's the only way that I can think of. Aunt D, where did you get them? What's them? I'm not familiar. I'm not sure what you're referring to. So if it was CliftonStrengths, I just happened to I had an email from Gallup saying, hey, this is on sale, and I just bought it from them. Yeah, if there's something else that is them, please let me know in the chat. Oh, vision board. So something I actually am. Oh, okay. Yeah. And Auntie, the other thing is, if you're a writer, I highly recommend the Better Faster Academy. That's who I'm doing an intensive with right now for specifically one of mine. They are all certified Gallup certified CliftonStrengths coaches. And if you take one of their courses, the cost of the test is included as part of the course, but the courses can be on the expensive side depending on what your budget is. But honestly, they've been so useful for me in helping me get out of burnout that I highly recommend them. You can check them out. They're actually doing a free coaching on their Facebook page tomorrow at 10 a.m. So if you just look up on Facebook, Better Faster Academy, you should be able to find that, and that's 10 a.m. Eastern. So if you want to get a feel for them and how they operate, that is something that you might find interesting. But they're also very writer focused, the same way Sarah is very writer focused. But a lot of other creators do go to them. Creatives go to them because they have found it useful. Vision boards. So I was watching a Plan with Lakin video about vision board ideas. She's doing a whole series about creating various vision boards. And so I ended up just creating a list because I just have a hard time sometimes thinking about what to include on a vision board. I can see myself in the future and all that, and I can kind of like write stuff out and make lists, but like creating a vision board was not a thing that was coming easy to me. So I just started creating these individual vision board ideas to help me think of what I might want to include on a like more global vision board. And so like countries I want to travel to, things about the future home I want to have, what kind of transportation I want to have, day in the life, what kind of assistance I want to have, like I said, an editor for my YouTube videos, personal assistant to help manage my schedule, cover designers, editors, like what maybe house cleaners. I really want house cleaners. That is a number one thing, has been for years. And then what kinds of skills do I want to learn or improve upon? What kind of hobbies do I want to be doing? What kind of work do I want to be doing? I'd love to have a garden. I actually just got a dwarf citrus tree that's sitting out on my balcony now, because I enjoy that kind of stuff. So if you're having trouble with vision board, like especially like a global thing, maybe break down like individual areas that you might want to try your hand at, and maybe that will get the ball rolling. So I'm just kind of go over my notes, make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, I kind of forgot to talk about this with regards to the how do I keep multiple planner systems and planners functional is beyond the try not to overlap the intentions of how I use each one. But I also try to do weekly check-ins to make sure that that particular planner is still working for me, especially if it is a planner I don't need to touch weekly for whatever reason. But currently, all the planners I'm using, I touch daily. And also give myself space in my weekly schedule for planning. So I try to do meal planning on Saturdays. And I try to do my weekly planning on Sundays. I do find that when I do, like yesterday, I did weekly planning and monthly planning. That was a lot. And it helped that I have a 3-day weekend and I can spread the monthly planning over a course of a couple of days. But there was a lot of very mind intensive work that I was doing when I try to do too much in one day. And sometimes, like with the daily planning, shift if you need to shift when you do something, try to have that flexibility. It might be easier for you just to keep a routine of I do my daily planning in the morning as part of my morning routine, and if that's working for you, run with it. But if you find that there is some kind of overwhelm or you just don't have time one morning, maybe try to do the daily planning the night before. And when I'm during the course of the day job week, the work week, sometimes I don't do the daily planning in my MäksēLife until I get home from work. So having some kind of flexibility and figuring out whatever the priority is that you actually like. Day job, I have to prioritize actually planning my work day and not my personal day. So that is figuring out like, can you shift the period of when you do the planning? I think that's it. Does anybody have any other questions? Thank you all so much for joining me here on the live. I'm so appreciative that you all had questions. I hope this was useful. I'll quickly go over again for if you're interested in the HB90 Bootcamp. That will, for quarter 3, we'll start off with a kickoff call on Sunday, June 12th at, I believe, 2 p.m. Eastern. Let me quickly pull up my schedule. Calendar, June 12th. Um, 3 p.m. Eastern, I'm sorry. So 3 p.m. Eastern, and that will stream live into a private link to an unlisted YouTube video, as well as to the Facebook group for the bootcamp group. As part of the fee for the bootcamp course, which is $199, you will also get the planner, the whole planner for quarter 3. So that is included as part of your registration for the bootcamp. You have access to Sarah with the individual cohort that you will be going through the bootcamp with. And I find that that has been really useful to see how other people are both what they are trying to do and the challenges that they are facing, because if you're having an issue, you're likely not the only person having an issue. So there's a lot of really great questions that will pop up in the group. I found that particular group useful. That's one of the one of the reasons why I'm still on Facebook, because honestly, if it wasn't for the groups, I would have dumped Facebook a while ago. And it's over the course of 7 days, so it runs from June 12th to the 18th. Is that what June? Yeah, July. Yes. So June 12th to June 18th. And once you work through the boot camp with your individual cohort for that particular time periods, you will then be moved into the alumni Facebook group, where you can talk to everyone outside of that. That being said, like I said, Halima, if you are not on Facebook, there is also discussion within Teachable that you can, that also really gets used. And Teachable is the platform that delivers the course, not Facebook. Facebook is for like kind of the side chat type of stuff. So you don't have to be on Facebook if you still want to take the course. I found it useful, but I absolutely get why people are not on Facebook, believe me. So you do have the option to just use Teachable, which is the platform where the course is delivered, and you can have access to the kickoff call on YouTube. So you don't have to be in Facebook either for that. So, so that's how Sarah's worked around the fact that there are a lot of people out there who do not want to be on Facebook. So I hope that helps. But again, if the $199 for the bootcamp is outside of your budget, even with the payment plans, you can just get for, I think it's about $30, the individual planner for the quarter or the goals planner. And it will walk you through all of the same work. You just won't have the individual videos that Sarah does to support working through the exercises. But yes, $199 for the boot camp, and you have the option of one-time payment or a 3-month payment plan or a 6-month payment plan. So yeah, any other questions that anybody has? And thank you so much for both being here, and for those of you who ask questions through the Instagram stories. Thank you so much. I really appreciate having questions to respond to, because it just makes it easier to organize my thoughts a little bit, as well as truly answering the questions that you all might have. And so thank you for asking questions here too. If that's it, I will let you all go. Thank you so much for joining me here today. And I will be doing a video, a live this Saturday with hauls of some of my recent purchases, as well as I think I have some other ideas coming up, but I'm going to try to stick to doing lives sometimes on Saturdays as my schedule allows. And I will see you all then, and you all have a wonderful day, and may all your dreams be Ruby dreams. Bye-bye. And let's see how long it takes me to end this broadcast.